Hey, Teddy K here for the Best Buy blog, and in this video we look at two Sonos speakers. There's the Sonos Era 300 that brings in spatial audio, and the Sonos 100 that is ultimately a replacement for the Sonos One. So Sonos is back again with two new speakers. Now, I'm holding here the Era 300. This is the speaker that I think is going to probably have a bigger impact, more so because it is what I think Sonos is thinking is going to usher in a new era for the company because of the spatial audio that this speaker can play. So spatial audio, if you're not familiar with it, is the idea where you can listen to music or audio in virtual surround. So the speaker in this case has been designed with that in mind. There are 6 drivers in here. So you have front facing, and then of course you have from the left and the right. So you have the sides and upward firing as well. This is Dolby Atmos at work here. And that means basically is that when you have audio, so you have music that is in Dolby Atmos, you can listen to it in that virtual surround. Almost press them there. You can listen to it in that virtual surround kind of environment. And so you might be wondering, well, how do I hear spatial audio if it's facing me? Well, that's the beauty of it, right? It's the way that the waveforms kind of come out of the speaker and sort of feel like they're enveloping you. Don't get me wrong, this is not necessarily that you're not going to feel like the music's coming from behind you, but it does make the audio just feel different than typical stereo, like standard stereo does. This speaker can do that too. Now, this is not just spatial audio. Spatial audio, I'm going to get to that further in a second, but this is not just for spatial audio. This speaker can do regular stereo, just like anything else in Sonos's lineup, and it does that well too. I am going to make a quick point though. This does not replace the Sonos 5. So if you're wondering about that, it does not. It is, to me, more a complement to the Sonos 5. So the 5, which is going to have beefier bass for one thing, and it to me is a better stereo sound than this does, which is really saying something because this sounds really, really good. But the 5 to me is more of a pure speaker. It's not a smart speaker. There's no voice control. There's nothing like that. It's just pure music. Now you might be wondering about the design here for the Era 300. This sort of concave kind of design, some people refer to it as an hourglass, to each his own. That is by design. So in order to make the drivers work and to have them face in different directions, Sonos had to think of something. A typical box design wouldn't work in this case. So in effect, because of the concave, you have the speakers kind of face outward, and they also, in a way, face towards you as you're listening, right? So it's a nice design, and I can't do it justice here because I can't play something for you with the speaker that you would appreciate, or at least that you could hear and see the difference. It is one of those cases where hearing is believing. I just hope that you get the chance to hear the speaker in some way for yourself. When I first heard this in New York, it was at a press event that Sonos put on in New York, and I got to hear it firsthand at that time. Now, in that case, Sonos had a pure room setup that was just perfectly laid out to hear the best that this speaker has to offer. Now, since I've had it at home for the better part of 3 weeks, I can attest to how good it really is. This is easily one of Sonos's best speakers. Forget the spatial audio, and I'm even going to mention the high-res audio too, because it plays high-res audio really, really well also. But it's just, I think it's the clarity, the crispness. There is plenty of bass here as well. You can of course adjust that in the Sonos app. Sonos's intention with this speaker and the Era 100, which I'm going to talk about in a second, was to sort of bring back the idea of sitting down and listening to music and enjoying it, right? So the old, kind of like the old school of, like, putting on a record on a turntable and just, sitting back and just listening to it. I actually asked Sonos whether or not this could be used as a TV speaker, because given that it has such resonance, why not apply that to something that you're going to watch, like a show or movie? You could theoretically do it, and the way to do that is by, when you look at the back, okay, I'm going to show you here, their USB-C port in the back is for connecting other devices through a wired connection. You'll need an adapter to do that. Sonos does offer one separately sold. It does not come in the box with the speaker, but when you do that, it allows you to connect with a lightning cable. You can connect pretty much anything. Now, you could do it with a turntable. You'll need a couple extra components, but the main thing is, if you want to connect this to the TV, you could do that through a line-in connection. I did try it. I liked it, but I'm not sold on this really being a TV speaker. I prefer something like the Arc or the Beam, to be honest, because you have the EARC connection. So the HDMI connection just makes way more sense to me when it comes to that, because you're just using one remote control. Anyway, the point is, if you want to use this as a TV speaker, it's fine. Just bear in mind that you may have to control two devices differently. Like, you'll have to control the speaker and then the TV separately. So that's one thing to keep in mind. There is no Ethernet port on here. There is an adapter for that as well. One of the adapters actually has line in and Ethernet together. So this is fully wireless, of course, out of the box, and you will need a good home internet connection to play music wirelessly on this thing. For the voice control, there is a kill switch in the back also. So if you don't want voice at all, you can do that. Just kill it off completely. But if you do want it, you can always also turn it on and off with the button at the top. There is no Google Assistant. So as of this review, Google Assistant is not an option on this speaker. It's either Alexa or Sonos' own voice control. So Sonos' voice control is different in that you can tell it what to play and where to play it. So if you wanted to move, say, from the Era 300 to another Sonos speaker in your system, very easy to do that. The only thing is that Sonos' voice control does not control smart home devices. So you can't access those the way you could have with Google Assistant, for example. You'd have to use Alexa to do that. Okay, I'm going to switch gears here now to the Era 100. This may look like a familiar design to you because it's pretty obvious what this replaces, which is the Sonos One. As you can see here, retains that cylindrical design that we know more or less from the previous Sonos speakers, but this packs way more of a punch, in my opinion, compared to its predecessor. Where the One was a mono speaker, this plays in stereo, and it's obvious when you start playing music at a louder volume that not only does it carry more, it's just crisper, clearer, and definitely thicker. If you were looking for more bass because you felt you weren't getting enough from the Sonos One, I think you'll get plenty here. Simply just by the components that are built inside. It is a little taller, it's going to be a little heavier than the Sonos One, but ultimately this is a pretty versatile speaker. And again, same controls in the back, so you do have the USB-C port in the back. You, again, can use the adapter if you want to use a wired connection with something. You can also turn off voice completely. I'll get to the Bluetooth for both speakers in a second, but you can also stereo pair two of these together, either to play forward, or you can use them as rears with an Arc or a Beam to create that surround effect. That does apply also to the Era 300 also, which actually gives you an even bigger boom if you're going to use those as rears, but of course that becomes a bit of an expensive proposition. Now for Bluetooth, that's kind of a big deal, right? I mean, Sonos really kind of avoided Bluetooth for the longest time, but it is in both speakers. It's limited in the sense that it's only the basic AAC and SBC codecs, so you're not going to get high-res codecs available in either speaker, which to me is kind of a bummer because high-res audio over Wi-Fi is awesome on both of these, but for Bluetooth, it's really just about convenience and simplicity. So, and of course, you can allow like friends when they come over, they can connect to the speaker and play music that way as opposed to going through the app. Now, I recognize, unfortunately, I can't play music on here to really give you an idea of how good these are, but take it from me, having tested Sonos speakers for years, I guess I should look at it like this. Now, if you're looking to upgrade from a Sonos One, yes, I think the Era 100 is definitely going to make a difference. I think you'll hear the difference very clearly, very early on. Trueplay is also available on both speakers, just like it has been on previous Sonos speakers. I still think the iPhone is the best way to set this up, simply because it just involves you moving around with the phone and just sort of waving it around to allow the speaker to read the dimensions of the room. For Android users, you do have an option here where the speaker can do it itself. So as it plays, it sort of sends out audible tones to recognize, okay, well, where are they bouncing back from to the microphone? And then it kind of makes an assessment from there. In my experience and my testing here, I felt that the iPhone was more precise. This is a subjective thing. Whether you hear a huge difference between Trueplay or not, I think Trueplay does make a difference, but if you hear a big difference between doing it with an iPhone or just letting it do it automatically, I guess that depends on you. But I do recommend doing it with an iPhone. You can even borrow a friend's phone to do it. like you could before, and try it that way. So lastly, I'm just going to summarize. Look, neither of these speakers are wireless in the sense that they're portable. So these aren't the speakers that you're going to like unplug and just take with you wherever you want to go. They are largely meant to be placed wherever you're going to put them. The Era 100, a little more versatile. It can go on a bookshelf. I like the Era 300 more so for a speaker that you kind of want to place somewhere that's a little more open. You could put it in a bookshelf, I guess, but I feel like if you want that spatial effect and you want it to really let it kind of breathe, give it some air, so to speak, right? Like put it in a space where sort of it's uncovered, unfettered, and lets you get a little loud with it too, so that you can really feel that effect. Bear in mind now, just briefly about spatial audio, not every track is available in spatial audio. Amazon Music is really, and Apple Music are the only two services as of this review where spatial audio is supported. Tidal has spatial audio, but at the moment, again, as of this review, it is not available on here. So you can play everything else on Tidal, but any track that has spatial audio will simply play in stereo. Spotify and all the other ones are on there. So all those services that Sonos already supports are readily available and they will play on here. But when it comes to spatial audio, you're kind of limited in your options as it is. High-res audio, similar kind of situation. Some sound, like some music, for example, like master tracks on Tidal won't play in master on this. They'll generally revert to hi-fi. Some other hi-fi tracks might revert to CD quality, but it also depends also on what subscription you have with Tidal, because there's a difference between hi-fi and hi-fi plus. And that's my review of the Sonos Era 300 and the Era 100. For the Best Buy blog, I'm Teddy K. Thanks for watching.